Warning. Warning. UFO detected.
Now, as much as the title card may have fooled you, this is not actually the UFO Enemy Unknown that you see in the top right of the screen, nor is this the UFO, UFO Defense released in both, I believe, in 1994, in both British for the UFO and Enemy Unknown was the American version. Don't really know exactly why they were labeled different, probably because of game releases back then, and similar names they were trying to not confuse. That's my best guess. So this is the XCOM Files version 2.6. I was previously playing on 2.5.3. That was the last patch that was released at this point, nearly like 125 days ago. This patch just dropped 11 days ago, I believe, at this point. Very fresh. And I've done tons of playthroughs of this game. I've done hundreds of hours of this game in general. Now you may be asking, what is this game? Well, this is the XCOM Files. This is a mega mod, a total conversion mod for the original 1994 UFO Defense, or UFO Enemy Unknown. I'll probably use those terms interchangeably. But also combined with the XCOM Terror from the Deep. So this is running on the Open XCOM Extended launcher 7.5.3 from 2012-02-07 was the last time it was updated. This launcher is something completely different from what you'll see on, say, if you own the Steam version of this game. This is an open source, the Open XCOM. The Extended is basically, well, the mods, to put it simply without going way too deep into stuff that I barely could understand just to get this thing put together about 4 years ago. But the Extended is basically for the mega mods. The Open XCOM is for the traditional experience, but without all the bugs, for example, like the difficulties being completely borked in the original game. That's a little tidbit for you, is the reason the XCOM Terror from the Deep was so universally difficult is actually because in the original game, UFO Defense, there's a glitch that no matter what difficulty you had selected, after you had saved your game, loaded it, and it looks something more like this. You saved your game, save file slot 1. Even on Iron Man this glitch would occur. You would save your game, you would exit, do whatever, but the second you reloaded that save, whatever number would bork from any of the higher difficulty, any difficulty, and reset it to beginner. So the designers of the game were like, you know, people were coming back to them, hey, look at me, dude, I'm completely blowing through your game on Superhuman. And the problem with this is nobody knew this, not even the developers, without manually looking into each save file, because when you would load game, it would be, oh, blah, 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 Superhuman. You would go into the stats or the final calling card at the end when you get you win, you know, your score type of deal. It would say, beat the game on X amount of time, Superhuman difficulty score modifier, boom, and it'd be like, I smashed your game on Superhuman, even though they were only playing on beginner. So when they made Terror of the Deep, they were like, Superhuman on this game, well, that was a cakewalk. We need this to at least be beginner on the new game. So the game was just outrageously hard. The original game playing on Superhuman is definitely not as hard as Terror of the Deep, but I would call a pretty fair challenge, especially if you're not new to these types of games or strategy games in general. I would say that the original XCOM games are also extremely different from the original XCOM game, or, well, not the original, these are the original, the newer renditions of XCOM. So if you've never seen these, you're honestly in for a real treat. So this is the new patch. It doesn't change anything major. I saw some different things, which you'll see later, about cult members and stuff being mainly just balances. Added some more stuff with Ghost. I've noticed in previous patches there's about 3 Ghost missions. I won't spoil them. But generally, you can usually tell when they're coming. They're kind of timed out, and you never end up doing anything with them. So Ghost have been a long time work in progress for the XCOM files. I've noticed some other quality of life, tile sets, new maps, stuff. So I thought this time, now than ever, this is the perfect time to go ahead and hit new game, and we're gonna hit our settings. So there's 2 ways I'm gonna go through this. There's different ways I like to play this game. One, about 2 years ago, I wanted to stretch the limits of this game, so I played on beginner. And what I did was I went through the game. Basically, I called it Doctor Stranging the game, like Dormammu I've Come to Bargain style, and I would load every eventuality in sequence to try to get the best possible outcome for every mission, the best score, the least hits, the most time efficiency, the most loot, etc., etc. And the plan was to advance the game as fast as possible and try by date in game beat the game as fast as possible as well, with the biggest score, lowest losses, ultra Chad looking with the time stone. But then I've also done beginner difficulty Iron Man, quite honestly. But even on the Doctor Strange thing, there's, that's obviously pure cheese. Some things I've done is like go veteran without Iron Man, and what I'd do is I'd load a mission. This game, what you have to understand is a singular playthrough of this game could be 500 hours plus, and that is with no major setbacks. And generally you could be 400 hours into your run and suffer 3 to 4 catastrophic level setbacks, and your campaign is over, you've lost. Then there's no way to recover, no virtual way to recover. It's just GG at that point. And it's not even GG as in terms of, well, I don't think I'm going to recover, so I'm going to start in. It's GG as in, physically, you hit the lose condition of the game, and you lose. So, for those sort of, say, bronze man than anything, is I would go on a mission, catastrophic failure would happen, I would take the second worst catastrophic failure of the mission, which is reload back to the beginning of the mission, go into it, insta-abort, take a huge amount of score penalty, which you'll see why that's important here in a little bit, but take that score penalty, nope out of the mission, continue on with my campaign and my 300 hours plus progress, and not cry myself to sleep that night. For this, I'm going to be going on I don't know. So there's 2 options I'm thinking. I'm either thinking beginner, no Iron Man. I just kind of go through in this sort of like a chill playthrough. Well, not even that. It's mainly beginner, and it's going to be like honest man. I'm only going to reload just in case things to prove points and that kind of stuff, or in case of crashes. Or we could do the chat thing. I've never had problems with crashes in this game or losing saves, so I'm really tempted to just go superhuman Iron Man. This could be a terrible idea. I have no idea how this is going to work, but honestly, I don't think that's the best option for us here. I am open if people are interested to do a separate playthrough either after this one or running alongside this one as well on a super tryhard superhuman Iron Man like Giga Chad playthrough to where I min-max and take every mission as seriously as possible and try to Giga Chad my way through the game. But I think for the purposes of this and as a general introduction to XCOM and just wanting to have an overall okay time with it, I think we're going to hit beginner. Because mainly on beginner, there are missions in beginner difficulty that I struggle with. And when I'm playing on higher difficulties, like even veteran, I just don't take those missions. Quite frankly put, I don't take them. I either wait till my gear is so far beyond those missions and I cheese them out, or I just never go on them. I just never attend them. It'll be like, every other month the mission will pop up. Just completely ignored. Go fuck yourself. I'm not going on that mission. No way, no way, Jose. So we'll go ahead and get beginner. Hit OK. We're instantly in. So welcome to the world of XCOM. It is 1996, the 30th of December. Far Cry from Terra Invicta's 2022, I believe, at November. So there's 2 openers for this game. So that's back to the Terra Invicta thing. But mainly, there are 2 openers. You start in Europe, or you start in America. Generally, if you see these lines, the littlest circle inside this little, I guess, triple circle is the small radar. The second most outer one is the large radar, and then the farthest one out is the radar extender. Those are well, small radar isn't too far off, but the other two are very far off. So generally, at the start of the game, in the XCOM files, you have global coverage in cars and vans, which you'll see soon. But during the mid-game-ish, well, the mid-game for the X-Files at least, that's like 200 hours of gameplay away for us, if we're lucky, is something called the Dragonfly. I won't spoil exactly what that is, but basically, you have a range from about Europe to like here, in a big old circle. So anything like west coast of the United States, down here, stuff down here, all of this, and some stuff over here, you can't get to. So if you go Europe, usually my common strategy is one in Eastern Europe, hit most of the radar dishes, boom, instantly down, Australasia, I usually call my base, and then immediately, boom, covering South America base. So I get my triple circumference of the world, and then I can cover, from that point, with 3 crews of Dragonflies, every square inch of the entire planet. The America start, however, I usually go America, into somewhere here in the Himalayas, which then generally Himalayas kind of screws me, so I normally go America straight into like over here in terms of Eurasia, but I want to cover New Zealand, so maybe on like this island, mainly on Australia, North proper, and then back into Europe. So it's like a 1, 2, and these are always a struggle. I normally don't like the America start, because mainly, if we zoom in here, it's kind of blurry probably for you guys, but hopefully the quality's fine. They added the last update before, well, this last update, so I guess 2 updates ago at this point, tons and tons of countries in Europe. Funding is really weird now, especially in the XCOM files. So generally, I like setting up shop in Europe because of all the countries. If we zoom out, I don't want to cut myself by doing the city strat. Talking about Lewis and Ben were the last, I guess, big YouTubers. Lewis and Ben Saves the World. They did an XCOM Files playthrough. But on one of those original UFO Unknown playthroughs, they did a little strat, which, if you place your base directly, I'm pretty sure they were actually going for Budapest. They placed their base on Budapest, and the very first mission they got before they got any of their men or equipment was an alien base assault. No idea if that was just a happy accident, which was hilarious, or if it was because they put their base directly on the city. That's a great meme. I don't think I'll be doing that because I'm not trying to grief. But we could do that as a YOLO. That would be hilarious. We're going to do it. We're going to try to get our city on Budapest. Recreate. Normally, base names, I normally name them like Europe to... Oh, boys. There we go. We're on Budapest. Oh, maybe not exactly Budapest. I think we're right outside Budapest. But definitely playing with fire, so we'll see what happens with that. So time is always ticking on the geoscape. When we're here, you can never pause on the geoscape. Once you go into your base, here we are. The game is now paused. The very first thing we need to do is we need to go agents and instantly start training these guys. This is a big thing from the original games. Training allows you to get stat increases on your soldiers. Boom. Training allows you to make these guys not so garbage. So like this guy with his 46 fire and accuracy, decent sanity. This would be my frontline guy. I'd give the high explosives to, the machine gun pistols first in the door. Whereas this guy, 61 fire and accuracy, would be my backline, sort of like sniper type deal. Backline, really backline. This guy sits pretty decent. Frontline, you know, basically everyone over like 58 is decent, and then everybody under that is a garb. That changes in the XCOM files. Soldiers are important, and they are expensive. So you need to protect your soldiers and care for them like they are little babies. And you can actually train them up to being not complete ass, which is why it's actually important to keep them alive. We're going to instantly open with another gem. This base, especially why I'm playing with fire here by trying to meme myself on Budapest, is they can be assaulted. So if you ever played the newer games, where Dr. Valen or whoever explains to you after the 2012 game that the alien base assault was probably a one-time thing because, you know, oh, they only really had the capability to do this once. Well, in the original games, That is not the case. Once they find your base, they will religiously attack it wave after wave until until it's destroyed. Once they find you, they're coming in, and they come in through this, the access lift, and the hangars. The way I lay this base out in tiles actually will very much affect the way I have to defend this base in the map. Every tile will be laid out exactly as it is here. The aliens will spawn in the hangars and in the access lift, and my men will be scattered throughout the rest of the base, and will have to scramble to defend these points. If they lose, the base is gone. These are where the other bases can go. I can have up to 8 bases in total. If I lose at one of these other base defenses, the base is gone. But if I lose this, Europe, XCOM HQ, the game is over. So the very next thing we want to do, we purchase more soldiers. The reason I bought up to 10 is because each, if we see here remaining training capacity, each gem trains up to 4. So generally, I don't want more rookies than I can train, especially because these cars can only hold 2 people. Vastly different from the meat grinder of the original game, Skyranger, of the, I think, 12 total slots of rookies who would probably half of them die on the very first mission. Immediately we will buy another public car, instantly buy a bunch more taser pistols. I love Glocks in the early game. I'll explain why here in a second. We're going to go ahead and pick up, well, 1 pump shotgun because it's okay, but these are so ass I normally don't even worry about getting them. On higher difficulties, I definitely do splurge on the pump shotgun because it is a nice luxury item, but mainly just to show it off, I'm going to grab it. Med packs. I do medic bag spam. I'm going to try that out in this playthrough. So this is the medic bag. Basically, we hit info here, we can see this is the important part. Stats for nerds. Painkiller use 2, heal use 2, stim use 2. So when you get shot in the field, and if you don't die, there's a little something called fatal wounds. If you have fatal wounds, you will continually take tick damage, if you imagine it more like poison. To get rid of those fatal wounds, you use heal. So in this, there's the meta pack, which costs 10k, which is 333, and is very heavy. We see, scroll down? No. Oh, also calculated values for money, beginner. Yeah, things get more expensive. That's another exponentially increasing harder thing. Of the higher difficulties, shit gets more expensive. Weight 15. Weight is very important. If you go overweight, your guys can't move, they can't shoot, they get extremely tired. It's not good. So it's 333, or the medic bag, half the weight, but only 1 less healing across the board, and 1/4 of the cost. So what I normally do, at least in the very beginning of the game, is instead of trying to waste my money on the meta packs, I spam medical bags 24/7, spam. Because if you even use 1 of the charges in this medical bag, or in the meta pack, or the bag, it uses the entire go. So it's much more efficient to spam out these smaller medic bags, because most of the time you're using them up completely. But at worst, if you only use 1, painkillers and stim are honestly not that useful most of the time. It's mainly heals what you're looking for. So for $1,250 basically is what a heal costs through this ratio. But for here, it's whatever, 3.3333, you know, repeating for, well, medikit, buy cost, yeah. So the sell cost is 6,200, but buy cost, so it's the $3,333.33, you know, exponentially, whatever, 3 cents. So for cost to waste ratio, wasting out of the medi bag is way better than the medi pack. So that is the general idea right there. Waste not, need not is a very big motto here at XCOM, because you can see, so this is another thing, the management of this game, it's a lot. Every single little item you need, like fire extinguisher, you're buying that. You're buying everything. There's no just, oh, I'm this guy, you know, throw Medipack on, call today, Dr. you know, or whoever, Mr. Shin was, I guess Dr. Shin, right? Because he had a, I think, PhD, whatever, mechanical engineering in the newer games. You buy, you know, you have him build your Medipack 1 time, and then you're good to go forever. not the case here. You are buying every individual clip of ammo. You are buying every individual gun. It is all cost of purchases, and it will need to be timed to be shipped into XCOM base. The next things, we have prison cells, animal pen. So these hold 10 each, 10 animals, 10 prison cells. I always immediately go, prison cells, boom. So we can't actually replace the access lift. So quite frankly, put this base, if it ever is assaulted, will be held to defend. Once we build a new base, I'll show you actually how to lay your base out to not kill yourself. There are mods you can install to allow you to place everything, like pre-base sort of placers, to where it'll have you a list and you can design the base from scratch yourself. I don't play with those because I think his name is Solaris Scorch, is the creator of this mod. He's at least, that's the name of the guy updating and running the update post on for the update list. So he was saying that this game is balanced for no other mods in mind, and it is balanced for itself and itself alone, and that has worked for me in the past, so I will continue on with that motto. This corridor is just an empty corridor. I can't dismantle it yet because it would leave my prison cell completely unconnected from the base. I plan on demolishing that eventually, putting something there. This base will just be a block, and when it gets attacked, I'm just hoping that by sheer number of like 40 guys and like 8 tanks, we can really just run over whatever comes in here. And also a little strategy for later is mass amounts of explosives. So hopefully those will save the day. So we can go back to the geoscape now. There's really nothing left for us here. And we can roll the time. So here's our car. Items arriving to 1 of Europe. Our car's here. This is the intelligence officer introduction. There's a ton of things here that I'm not really going to go into these. You can pause and read. I'll hit my mouse cursor over here if you want to pause and read this. But this is mainly the XCOM files, very short, very sweet introduction of, hey, here's what maybe you should be doing. So if we actually go back, we can now actually research, now that she showed up, the basic operations general strategy. I'll do general strategy for you guys, because it's nice. So what I did there was on these texts. You can do this in the XCOM files. If you middle mouse click on them, it's going to pull up what it depends on, her coming in, her introduction, and what it leads to. These dots up here, these 2 dots, there's dots, there are dashes, there are equal signs, then there are pound signs, or I guess hashtags. The more of those that there are up there, in the greater quality, and I think what I listed off, the dot dot dash equal signed pound, the more of that there is up here, the harder the tech is to research. Generally with the dot dot, 2 researchers 24 hours is enough to instantly complete most of this tech most of the time. So that's something that comes from gameplay. Oh, sorry about that. If you go too much over, then the research is wasted. So if I put, say, all 5 scientists onto this, then I'd still get the tech in a day. It would just be more of a waste. So science, kind of something you kind of have to feel out. But for basic operations here, that's a good example. The dash dash, well, equal dash dash, this is much harder. You're not really going to be able to predict this or min-max this down to the last day of operations unless you get your Excel spreadsheet. So what it leads to, XCOM Summary Report 1. We click on this. This is the classic tech tree, but without the blown out view. Depends on these, leads to this. Depends on this, leads to all of this. And then this depends on this, on and on down the rabbit hole. So we can actually head back to Geoscape and just let the time tick. We've got secret files, so this is what she brought with her, I think, in that big paragraph you read. She brought some secret files with her. So we're actually going to hit those secret files up immediately, because even though it's 1 secret file, it gives us the chance to roll for all of these. So it says gives 1 for free. So how this works is basically you're going to research secret files, and it's going to roll on a table. You're going to get 1 of these 40 different things. Once you've gotten 1 of these things, unlike EA loot boxes and stuff like that, you can't get it again. So once we've gotten, say, the dossier for Erne Lloyd, I'm not going to pronounce that, or let's just say, like, Harley Stone, the dossier for Harley Stone. once we get that from a secret files or any source, we can never get Harley Stone's dossier again. And this is also the same vein. It's 3 dots, so I'll shove 2 scientists on it. Maybe that's enough for 24 hours. Here's the accountant. She's going to lead to something else, but we don't have open. Whoa, holy crap. So that's extremely rare. That's a sonic blaster rifle, if you can see by here the research there. That's insane. So this is going to sit in our base for basically 400 hours of gameplay, and we're not going to see this thing again. It is worth $63,000. This is from, if you ever played the XCOM Terror from the Deep, the bigger rifle that they use, the Sonic Blaster rifle. This is what that is. Now, it technically counts as a cool alien gadget, which we need to get our chief engineer. As you can see, the list for this is incredibly long for what qualifies. But we can't research this, because it depends on sonic weapon calibration, which is just so far away and so difficult to research. So it is physically impossible for us, but that is definitely something to have on harder difficulties even. This would be something, if I'm in a pinch for cash, I might sell, but especially on an easier difficulty, this is just kind of something nice to have in your back pocket, just in case if later things don't all fall into line. XCOM, General Strategy. So this is, again, more of like the story thing. The different promotion texts, 1 through 3, in the General Strategy dossiers you get from them are basically the game's way of telling you how to play it. So here it's saying our first step should be secure our position, since we are not taken very seriously by the UN. In this storyline, we are basically the X-Files. We are like 2 guys in a car, and we are driving around the world, and we're not even fighting aliens at this point. We're just weird monsters and weird like paranormal activity, and we are basically the UN task force that's going around and investigating these different things to try to find out what's going on, where are these people going to, what is that weird thing that killed that dog, etc., etc. The main issue that our general strategist here is telling us about is that we have to find an explanation for the congruent spike in the number of criminal organizations and religious sects noticeable on every continent. So basically, sort of, I guess, back to the Terra Invicta example, is we're basically playing on the government side of that. Basically, aliens have hit Earth, and a bunch of different criminal organizations have sprung out to either worship the aliens or profiteer off of them, and it's our job to stop them. So it's kind of funny, a unique inverse. So the second problem, also the more striking one at this point at least, is a dramatic increase in reports regarding strange creatures, monsters, and the like. That's a global issue that we have to tackle. We should investigate these reports, and if there is a grain of truth in them, we must capture or dissect such a creature. So that's, our example. She's basically saying, like, it's not hard to see in that. She's basically saying we need to find out what's happening with these cults and religious sects, not S-E-X, sects, like S-E-C-T, I believe. And also, what's going on with these weird monsters. So we can go ahead and just pump that back into basic operations. I'm going to click on that. What do I want from this? Mainly this Intelligence Center. Intelligence Center is the first lab upgrade we get, which will actually give us more scientists. More scientists in this game, the better. They are incredibly expensive to upkeep, but they are how you actually not die in this game. We can spin. Oh, we have to get our first missions. Strange life form. You can see here. Details. People went missing in the vicinity. Some were found butchered, seemingly by some wild animal. With help from the local forces, we have located a possible reason, some unidentified creature. We should identify this threat and put an end to it. So we're going to roll out with the basic car and the basic people, because our new equipment has not come in yet. We can see here on this map. So there is different tiles here. We can see mountains here. This matters. Unlike the newer XCOM games, where you could be flying into, say, a metropolis in China and end up in the middle of a forest, in the XCOM files, and mainly the original XCOM games in general, where you're going matters. And also, this, what do they call it, the Terminator, in between light and darkness on the globe. That's our medical officer. Can ignore that for now. If you land in the dark, you fight at dark. If you enter the mission in the light, you fight in day. Very simple. She brought a money briefcase. So here we are. We can see by the Terminator here. we are fighting in the day. Boom. We get the same here. This is the same thing as we saw in the details. And we have our men. So we are very poorly equipped, actually. This is pretty bad. These are the garbage boys. So we can see here 46 fire and accuracy. So I'm just going to load this out. And I'll explain why I'm doing it in this way in a second. So the reason for this, we are broke. This is terrible. This is actually pretty scary. This could be an insta abort. So the way this works is we have right shoulder, right leg, right hand, left hand, QD, which stands for quick draw. So kata, straight to the hand, and our belt. So the way all this works is everything takes a tile on our guy, and this Medipack 15 stands for 15 out of 33 of the total weight. We go over that, it goes red, and we have reduced time units, which I'll show you what those mean here in a second. We can actually, yeah, we did throw the spare Glock on him. No spare clip, don't really need it. I guess we can show that now. This is why I used the Glock. So this is the unique part of the XCOM files that honestly, in my opinion, puts this game above and beyond every other game. There are individual stats for everything in this game. You will eventually be able to research a metal pipe and look at the exact stats and compare it to a MG42 if you really feel like. So here we have the Beretta 92 FS. Immensely popular, does 23 kinetic damage. Main thing, snap aimed 80 with a time unit of 60%, or 1624. Colt 45, this is the big chunker at the beginning, 30 kinetic. 75 80, 1832, not bad. Snubnose, 26, 2030. Generally, Snubnose is pretty bad. I don't know why you would use Snubnose over Colt. Colt, just exceptionally for snap, it's cheaper, does way more damage. Don't really know why you would use Snubnose other than as a meme. I think Snubnose only counts as one tile, so there's something to be said for that, so you can throw it on the shoulder instead of a quick draw. Glock 18 though, this is why I use it. Good accuracy, extremely low time units, and has an auto. So when you guys suck at shooting, in the XCOM files, beyond popular logic, 5 20% chance shots to hit are just extremely better than 1 80% chance to hit. Sounds crazy, but it just is, because of the way the firing mechanics in this game works, and they are just enormously different from the newer games, and I can show you why in a second. Then we have the light pistol. The light pistol, all in all, I mean, I guess there's something to be said for the 15 accuracy, but it's just a worse Glock. It's snap, less accuracy, it's same time units, less damage than the Glock, and I believe it holds way less ammo. So we can go ahead and load ourselves in the game. We never looked at the shotgun. We can actually pull it up here real quick. Shotgun. So this is the pump action. The aimed is 160. But in here we can see drop off. This is the main thing. I kind of know what the drop offs of every gun in this game kind of is because I've played it so much. But here, accuracy drop off per tile, 6. Pump shotgun, accuracy drop off per tile, well, it's also 6, but this modifier here is what makes it actually not so terrible compared to the small shotgun. There's also the choke. Generally, this is more important because it even calculates in the choke of these guns. So this is a shotgun choke 50%, so you're getting 50% buckshot spread, because you can see here it's 15 times 7. So instead of like this Beretta 92 FS, which is going to shoot 1 bullet dealing 23 kinetic damage on a roll from 0 to 200%, the small shotgun will shoot 7 pellets doing 15 damage, each rolling from 0 to 200% of each individual pellet. That is why shotguns are really effective in the early game, especially on unarmored targets. So the first thing we can do when we identify ourselves is I use the arrow keys to move around. Right click is gonna turn your agents when you select on them. You can left click on an agent to see them. You can middle mouse on people, just like you do to identify weapons or really anything in this game. Middle mouse button is basically give me a closer look. Right click is directional, like looking for the unit you're controlling. And left click is generally interact. So this is a civilian. He is not a threat. How do we find the threats? This flashing here, we can see center on enemy. So the reason this is green and this is red is it stays here because there's always an enemy if we center on it. So we have this Reaper. So if you ever played the original 1994 game, you'll immediately recognize this. This is a Reaper that the enemies will use on Terra missions, I believe. Sectopods use Cyberdisk. The Reapers, it's probably, what, floaters, I think, with the blaster bomb, BS. So, Reapers, extremely annoying. There are civilians here. So, if we just do this and abort, if it was only the Reaper on the map, because it's just a strange monster, it's 0 to our points. But because there are 2 civilians, I know by aborting, it's instantly minus 60 points. The Reapers, as you will know from the original game, are dumb. The problem is in the original game, you would generally come up here behind the hill, throw like 5 Hayaks over it, and probably shoot him with a blaster bomb and call it a day. In this game, we do not have that luxury. So what we will do is, we can see here I have, this is a setting you have to turn on. It's showing me exactly how many time units it takes to run. We can see that, where are time units? 39. It uses some every time you look. It uses some. And unlike in the newer games, to where in the newer games, if somebody was hiding, you had view on a 360 round where your agent is in the newer games. In the XCOM original games, my guy is facing downwards, so he can only see this. There is peripherals, so you can see sort of like here and here, but you can only see this. So if there was, say, like a zombie or some alien monster, like say that Reaper was like right here, I couldn't see him. He would just be here, and if I ended the turn, he would just come up and eat me, and I would die, and probably turn around the car and eat this guy too, and the game would be over. So generally, when you come to a site, you do this with all of your guys, and you just sort of, okay, you know, kind of see what's going on. I've played these missions before. I've never seen more than 1 Reaper, so I generally know this is the only guy here. This is the things, so like aimed shots, 38% chance. This guy's actually 4 tiles wide, if you see there the highlighting. In here, snapshot. It's also going to be pretty close, but if we kneel, this button, we can see him crouch. It'll increase our accuracy a bit. That's 27, that's pretty garbage. So I'm just gonna take aimed shots. So you can see here the bullet fired here, and it still hit. So the big thing in between this game and the newer games is, unlike in the newer games where you shoot and it missed this Reaper and it goes, oh, you know, the bullets just fly off into the distance, maybe a tree gets knocked down, whatever. In this game, when you fire a bullet out of this Glock 18, and it has a kneel bonus multiplier of 5% more accuracy, and it has a no sight penalty multiplier of 50% less accuracy, you know, and it has all these different things, and especially with the buckshot spread, we can see here with the shotgun choke penalty, the bullet flies, and basically all this means, this aim shot, the 36% right here, is this bullet has a 39, a 39% chance to fly from here to here and hit this target. Now, the rest of those percentage chance, it can land pretty much anywhere within the firing range of downrange of here. So there is a, I guess, back to the Doctor Strange example, a reality at which my bullet flies over here and headshots the civilian and instantly kills him. In term of that, there is a reality to where if, say, my guy was standing here, that he would just execute and blow my own guy away. So generally, shooting downrange on your own guys, unless they are the guys shooting are Giga Chads and not using basically Fallout 4 style, like freaking pocket nukes to shoot with, generally is a very bad idea. Continue to fire, we can see it hit. So it did hit this. I have the settings turned on to where if an enemy flashes deep red, it is taken a hit. If it flashes dark red, it's taken bits of fatal wounds, like we can. So we are looking for fatal wounds. Once it starts taking fatal wounds, we know it's on its way out. So see there, that was the dark red I'm talking about. When it does take fatal wounds, we can see a blood sign here. Once an enemy has started to take those fatal wounds, it is on the way out. And we can sort of just continue to wear it down until it dies. So we're going to go ahead, because we haven't saved yet. New saved game. I'm going to name it diff 1 for the beginner difficulty, comma, playthrough. That's kind of long. I'm just going to name diff 1 PT. And save that. We'll have one running save for this, mainly because this is more of like an educational thing than anything, more of just a casual playthrough. So if guys dies, who really gives a shit? We don't care if we get stopped. So this monster is running off. The reason for that, what's happening on screen, is it's a Ghana attack this guy. So that guy actually smacked back. So a big thing is if you've played, well, he's injured. A big thing between this and the original game, if you've played a lot of the original game, there was something called lethal injection. And that is where you would run up directly next to an enemy and you would just fire directly into them. Because of the way the cone of effect works in this game is, say if you're standing right next to this guy and you fired straight into him, even if the bullet technically would have flown over here and missed him, well, he's still in the path of the bullet, so he's getting mowed down. Extremely effective. To nerf that strategy, but also to buff how the way our strategy will evolve later, there's a thing called close quarters combat. In what what's it? Close, so like CQB, I think, or CQC, close quarter, well, CCC, I don't even know the acronym for it. Basically, what it means is if you have, the higher your reactions are, and if you have time units left, if an enemy moves in front of you in the original game, you would have a chance to fire at it as a reaction shot, be like, boom, and shoot at the enemy coming at you. But what they've done in this game is they've done that for melee. So if somebody comes within melee range and tries to, say, put you, just pump you full of lead, there's a chance you basically judo chop their gun away, and they will just like turn and shoot in another direction. And that then also can be a cascading effect of pain, to where you run up to, say, like this guy, if he was a cultist and had a shotgun, in my turn, he turns to blow me away with his slug shotgun. I close quarter combat judo chop him away, and he turns around and shoots his buddy. Now, that's just generally how that works sometimes. These are only 10% chance shots to hit. We are just gonna send them all down range, because, quite honestly, why not? We have the ammo. We just generally need to get hits on. Our guys suck at shooting, so it's kind of not bad practice. This monster, and it's kind of annoying. So they're just gonna run off, be annoying. So we're actually gonna intern and hope for some reaction shots maybe. This guy has an absolute death wish, so what we're gonna do is actually a pretty common strategy. We're gonna take this, we're gonna throw this gun directly at him. What that's done is hopefully this turn he's gonna pick that gun up. Yep, right here. So now he's armed himself. So this is a very funny thing you can do in XCOM. That's what this civilian is on her way to do right now, is to go arm herself with a weapon from my pile. Is, unlike in the especially modern XCOM games, civilians in this game will arm themselves. They will fight back. If somebody is not an enemy, they are your ally. So this guy acts is in the best interest for us. Now, his stats suck. He's probably even worse than these guys who are complete garb, but he's a body, and he's a man who will shoot and fight. So he's on the team. See there, he just kind of wandered around. So there are like other things where you can get like military personnel to help you. Jeez, you can see something here. It's part of the Garbo Glocks. If we had Colts, this might be a better chance to actually injure him here, but we can see here now bleeding, so we've done enough damage to him to where he's just taking, even though we're not scoring fatal wound hits by the Glocks, by just pure amounts of damage we've just been pumping into him, he's taking damage. But as you know from the original XCOM games, the original rifles in XCOM against Reapers are worthless, and these are way worse than those. So, you can already see, oh gosh, here it goes. See, there's a civilian, he's taking reaction shots. And this is huge. He's actually just saved our lives. The reason for this is when enemies take hits on reaction shots, their time units get toasted. So what we're actually going to want to do is take a shot. No, that's not worth. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to just auto shot this Reaper. And he's going to go down. Holy crap. So, one civilian died, minus 30 points. Civilian saved, 60. Or 2 civilians saved for 60, so 30 apiece. 1 enemy killed for 40, corpses recovered, 73 points. This is overall a 10 out of 10 excellent first mission as far as I'm concerned. XP, time units, strength, HP, bravery, reactions, fire and accuracy, throwing accuracy, melee, strength, sanity, psi skill, psi skill. The only thing that really matters, sanity is really good. Accuracy is amazing, so this +4 for him is actually turned him pretty decent. HP is pretty okay, bravery is amazing, reactions is honestly the best in my opinion. If you have a guy with a submachine gun, high time units, and god tier reactions, he can just mow down just hordes of people on not even his turn. We can see here, Reaper Corpse is all we got. And we can, of course, middle mouse click. It has no prerequisites. We can actually research this to get our Reaper Autopsy, which leads to Tough Creature and Strange Creature. But we're not going to be doing that because there are much easier Tough Creatures to research. For example, one very easy one is like a Werewolf Corpse. 2 lines instead of the Reapers, # and 3 equals. If we get desperate, we definitely will pound this out because there's a 2-for-1 deal. And what we need both these Tough Creature Autopsy and Strange Creature. The Strange one for the Promotion 1 prerequisite, and the Tough one for this, the Nitro Express Acquisition. You can look up what Nitro Express rifles are. There's some guy, Gun Nuts, on YouTube who've done videos of them. But basically, this is the poor man's anti-material rifle as far as I'm concerned. And definitely in the early game, this is a hard carry. So we're gonna go ahead and sell, hit OK. We got some new ranks for our guys, and we can send them home. So we can actually see now, there's senior agents. This rank generally doesn't matter unless you're on missions that really kill sanity loss for people. But we can see now 54 fire and accuracy and 50. So they moved from, especially this guy was actually, if you remember, 46 fire and accuracy. He went from being complete garbage to moderately meh. He's also got the the metal original member for 1-1 stats, so he's not that bad. But yeah, that's generally the idea, is because once he gets in the gym and trains up and stuff, he can actually be up there with, you know, say 70 fire and accuracy, 70-80 fire and accuracy eventually, which is actually really good. Nowhere near the 100 fire and accuracy Giga Chads we will have, hopefully. But because of his base good like stats and everything else, he will turn into a very solid core member of our team as like an all-around type of guy who can carry a rifle, carry some grenades, have some medical supplies, maybe throw some other weaker snipers ammo onto his back. Very good all-rounder. We'll go ahead and just drop another save now that we're out of the mission. Next thing we can actually show you now, finance score. This is the main graph that matters. We can actually sort of like snipe for UFO activity in other places by basically nerding out, being like, oh, we can see the aliens are in the Arctic. You know, that doesn't matter till later on, because even if the aliens are in the Arctic, our car is not catching up to their spaceship. The main thing, here's all of our equipment. We can do that in a second. The main thing that matters is finance, this score. If you go 2 months in a row with a negative score, the game ends. That's what I was talking about earlier with the whole, oh, if you take too many months in a row of negative score, it's just, or like too many bad events in a row, it's just GG. It's not even like you just don't think you can recover, but it just is GG. That's what I'm talking about. Those civilians dying, all those minus points, if you ever played the original games with the Terror missions are back, and they're even harder in this game, because at least in the original game, you could do, in the original game, the worst case scenario is you roll up to a landed super large, and it is a landed battleship with chrysalids on it. In this game, when you go to terror sites, what they've done to make this even harder for yourself is the battleships are there. the actual battleships assaulting the cities aren't just off the map somewhere and then they dropped all the troops off, and like, you know, a soccer mom dropping her kids off to practice and they're just kind of somewhere else. No, the ships are there, and they've made them even harder because it's not just the ships that there, but they've added external turrets to the ship, as along with the internal turrets that were already present. So the ships are incredibly hard, and generally, if you're not well prepared for it or don't know how to tackle them, terror sites and when the aliens invade, if you remember in the original game, old 1999 January 1st date, it's GG. We guess I never got to it, my bad. So score, so we can see this uptick, that was our points. The more points you have, the more money you get at the end of the month. Generally that scales, so the later on we go in the game, the better, the more points will award us. But generally, more points are better. You get points, it's very simplistic in this game. You get points in the missions, it's all laid out there in that graph, but generally, building things and researching things, everything you're doing that is good and helping you progress earns you points, and everything that's a setback loses you points. And that's why in the game it's incredibly difficult to dig yourself out of those GG level, like, alien grenade or blaster bomb launcher straight into the Sky Ranger type deals, because not only does that ruin all of your equipments, ruins your squad lineups, but then it also ruins your score, which then is like a death spiral type deal. So we can go ahead and go along. Here's our quartermaster, he's the fourth guy to come in. Here's our weapon box we got from him. So this is the end of the month. We already start the game at the 30th of December 1996. So here's our score, 2 mediocre. So we got an extra, $1,000 for our effort. But we got general, some money. Egypt is particularly pleased with your ability to deal with the localized threat and has agreed to increase their funding. That's the $1,000. So that was the thing, is if you remember where we went to the mission, was in Egypt. So this game remembers, we helped Egypt. Egypt liked that. It gives us more money. The opposite of that can happen. So you can have a month to where, say, you get 400 monthly score, but you had a mission to where you had minus 600 score in a country. The game remembers that, and in this screen it'll be like, oh, the United States was pleased with your ability, and these 8 countries were happy and increased their funding, but the one country you screwed over, say, like, was some weird monster attack in Australia, for like a random example, then the game remembers that, and it'll be Australia is displeased with your efforts, to deal with the localized threat, and has decreased their funding. So that is more part of the metagame. So our secret files are done. We got Gabriel's the Bone Fathers. So affiliation none. Also known as Mr. Skeletal in some circles, the Bone Father is an elusive figure responsible for several illegal operations, culminating with removing the bones of his victims, in some cases entire skeletal structures. It's unknown what happens to the bones he collects. The little evidence we have suggests that he collects them for a ritual of unknown purpose. Status: Interpol notified. The interesting thing about all of these dossiers is every playthrough is a bit different, because while there are set missions you have to go through, a lot of them are random. And generally, from what I found, is the vast majority of everybody in the dossiers are in the game. They are either characters part of organizations in the game, they're referenced multiple times, or just straight up are people you will fight with or against in missions later on. So we can go ahead and pump the rest of the guys' basic operations. Here's the rest of our research. We'll go money briefcase next, and after that we're going to go non-standard weapons because, well, quite frankly well, actually we're going to go standard protection. I almost always go personal protection immediately into Kevlar vest, because generally damage output is not the problem, it's getting one shot. So yeah, it's the first of the month we can drop a save. Now that we have new gear, we can also equip our craft. Here's our craft equipment. So I'm going to take off the combat knives, they're ass. So I ordered way too few. Oh, wait, though, that's the actual pistol, I'm not dumb. Sorry. So yeah, we've got no clubs, 2 pistols, 6 clips, 2 Glocks. Well, actually, I'll keep 1 for tossing to civilians. Small shotgun, meh. This will be pump squad. Mag lights for light. Medical bags to replace the old medipack. We'll throw 1 on until we use them all. And a fire extinguisher. Fire extinguisher may seem stupid. I've had men, great men, die to being caught on fire. And then since then, in all of my playthroughs, it has been a thing to where I just carry a fire extinguisher. I have not need to use them yet, but if I ever do, I will praise myself and I will sing the praises of myself from yesterday, that he was as a genius of myself to be able to pack a fire extinguisher of all things. Swatsy, don't throw the double two of the small shotguns on this craft, mainly because just why not? Something we can also toss to a civilian as a replace for the old Glock toss. And metapacks. That's metapacks. Then the bags, 3, and the fire extinguisher. Pretty light equipment. We can drop another save because I don't want to ever redo that. Which I will, but I don't redo that one in particular. So this will be a good mission to end off on here. Bellum. So what we actually do is, instead of what we did last time to re-hit your hit intercept, by the time we get there, it's probably going to be day. But what you do is you hit intercept up here, grab your craft, and you're just going to just put it near it. So this is one of the many random events. So the CIA has caught whiff of XCOM. Basically, XCOM in this game, and like it was in, I guess, the newer versions, the lore isn't very clear in the newer ones. You are like, I wouldn't say the Men in Black because, well, this is a spoiler. The Men in Black are in this game, and you do fight them. So you're not the Men in Black because the Men in Black does exist. But you're basically you're the Men in Black of the United Nations, if that makes any sense. So the American government is not allowed to figure out what the hell is going on with you, and which sucks because at the beginning of the game, the council doesn't really trust you. They're kind of skeptical of how important you are, and that's sort of where the score is. They're constantly like, you know, well, we should, if you're doing bad, they're like, well, screw it, we're just going to cancel the XCOM project. So this is bad. 100 points, not too bad. That just means we're gonna have to be extra careful and do our due diligence to not make sure we toast our points this month. So we can go ahead and zoom forward. Pretty sure it's gonna be a day mission, yeah, no matter what. So we can catch the craft in mid-transit. So what that actually does is the rest of our agents. So we're just gonna go ahead and throw up in training 0. Building this gym. So when this gym gets down to like 2 days left of building, I'll just queue in another 10 guys and bring them in. So what that little hop there was is basically if that would arrive at that waypoint and it was still night, I would just hit a button here and I'd hit patrol and my craft would stop and I would just spin the globe. The later the game goes on, and depending on the mission type, the more dangerous that is to do. Despawn penalty 200. So if this mission despawns, it goes on too long and it ends before I get here, it disappears on the map, and I lose 200 points. Not only do I lose 200 points, I lose the opportunity to gain points and the loot that is inside of this mission. So it's back to the double negatives. So in the early game, I almost always roll and try to get daytime missions only, because it is extremely hard to deal with nighttime missions, and generally in this game, you are always outnumbered, and if you cannot see the enemies and they can see you, just down to pure chance because there are more of them and squad sight is a thing, you will just lose if you do not win the vision battle, or at least are on even grounds with them. So we can go ahead and hit start mission here. We have new gear, so let's load our guys out. This guy's firing accuracy is bad. Every guy, this little trick you can do, I want at least both of them to have a taser pistol and a clip. So I can hit create inventory template, go to my other guy, and apply. So I want them to both have these. This guy, he has better firing accuracy, so I'm going to hand him the shotgun. And if he has the pistol, he can't hold anything else. So the shotgun here, if we unload, it's, what is that? That's 3? It's not terrible. This could be a mistake, but I kind of want to meme and try it out. And we'll just give him a bunch of clips because we might be spamming from a long range. Hit OK. Go in, drop a save just in case it crashes, and then a little quick zoom around, and zoom around. So this is another trick I've picked up over the years. If you do this, you can see how the red box disappears, even down here. This is telling you how big the map is. So we've got here to here. Generally, he's going to spawn indoors, so he's not here. He's basically, if we scroll up, the game's also multi-layered, and that firing cone does affect. So if I go to fire like into the second story window, the bullet now, instead of being just here on this horizontal plane, Nowden can have, if you imagine, more of like a 3D cone of fire accuracy all here, so it can get pretty crazy fast. If I had to take a guess, he's either here or he's on the bottom floor, like directly in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this guy back, nail him behind the truck, nail him here to cover, and see if he comes out. So he's actually hidden behind the building. So he's come out now. I was wrong. He was actually here. So this is Exalt. You'll actually recognize these guys from the newer games. Exalt. He has an axe. He's kind of toasted. I think he's dead anyway. So we're just going to pump him with lead, ammo, and that's the end of the mission. Missions in the early game are incredibly short and sweet, just like that, especially if you know what you're doing. So like there, through experience, I pretty much systematically nailed down to, I know he's in these two locations, and both of those locations are on the same approach angle. So by setting up my guys in that formation, I not only gave them cover from a potential attack, I also covered any of the ways I thought he could have approached to get in front of me or behind me. So I was able to instantly respond to him, take him out, no danger to my men. Boom, we've got the stats. The loot is only the axe he's carrying. We don't get the corpses from humans, only the weird paranormal. Just some guy in a balaclava is not exactly worth keeping around. Dead men do tell no tales. Drop a save. So our car does have to physically travel back. The only caveat is cars, if you see your 97 fuel, it has a fuel to round the earth 7 times over, but it is slow. And after any mission, any completed mission or aborted mission, I don't know about aborted mission, I'm pretty sure, but definitely after every mission complete, you cannot control the car. It does have to return to base, which in the early game, it's just more of annoyance where you say there's 3 missions down here. Ideally, in a perfect world, you could go 1, 2, 3 and then back, and it's done. But it's also a dangerous thing later in the game, if you know from the original games. Your Skyranger and stuff can be intercepted by UFOs, so it can become very dangerous if you know, for example, the aliens have a base, I'm gonna say over America, and you do a base down here, and you fly your Skyranger over here, and then it's on a path straight over the alien base back to its home, and you can't divert. It can be very dangerous. We can see here, unassigned engineer, the reason for that. We go to manufacturing. There is nothing to manufacture. We don't have anything to manufacture, and we will not have anything to manufacture for a very long time. Yeah, we'll let this guy get home. Well, it's still the end of our site, so that'll be where we save here for now. But generally, that is XCOM, the XCOM files in its nutshell. I'll cap this episode off here, because this is getting kind of long, and it's getting kind of late for myself. But yeah, we will definitely be continuing this. I think this is a game worth sharing. Generally on this channel, I want to play games and do games that not a lot of people are covering, that I think I have something to bring to the table with. So I don't think I'm going to be playing anything modern, really, or not even modern. Terra Invicta is a good example of like a modern game that I think I have something to bring to the table with. The main reason I did those early reviews on Terra Invicta is I genuinely do think in the terms of that game, I'm going to be outclassed very, very quickly in terms of like the average knowledge of the player base. But at least for right now, I definitely knew more than the average player at that point, so that's why I wanted to create mainly that button-by-button tutorial and the claims tutorial. But I think here with the XCOM files, this is a very relatively unknown game. From the total downloads on the source files, it's less than I think 10k people have even played this game. And other than the big, I think the Lewis and Ben series Save the World had, I don't know, maybe 100,000 views max on like episode 1. So generally the level of people who know how to play this game or even know what this game is very small. So I want to bring that back. I want to bring the XCOM files back to the main stage, back to YouTube, and back to people in general. I do think that this game is generally, this game right here, the XCOM files, especially for price, this game is $1. The base games I got for 50 cents each on a Steam sale, and the mod is free. And as you see, the 2.6 version, we can go ahead and save game just in case. Abandoned game. It's abandoned game, but it's the same thing as quit to main menu. The 2.6. This was done 11 days ago, and it has a patch notes list that is like a page and a half long, which is insane for something that's completely free and quite honestly game of the year material in my opinion. But it's very good. I would wholly recommend playing the XCOM files. If there's anybody interested in playing the XCOM files and are confused or get stuck or need help, I will do, if somebody leaves a comment, I will leave or not leave, I will make a video on a full step-by-step, every click you need to take tutorial of how to set this up for yourself, because that's part of, expanding the player base of the XCOM files, expanding upon how many people are playing it and who's playing it. Well, that is all for now. I will see you guys next time where we pick off on that cult interdiction mission.